Welcome to 29 to Life.
The podcast where two nearly 30-year-olds are still trying to figure out their 20s.
I'm Annie.
And I'm Lucy.
Come and join us as we figure it all out together. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Full of energy today.
Don't I know it?
We have just had a photo shoot for the podcast.
Oh my God, hilarious.
It's primarily a photo shoot to have some nice professional photos of the two of us together individually, and also potentially, we haven't made a decision yet, but potentially for the cover photos for wherever you find this.
Yes.
Spotify or Apple,
YouTube.
perhaps. Because we currently have our amazing logo that Lucy made.
Thank you very much.
We're just figuring out what we want to do for a cover photo. So we had a little photo shoot.
Oh yeah. We looked amazing.
We did some professional shots in my house. And then we, being us, took it to another level and may or may not have done some JCPenney Canadian tuxedo style photos.
Think 90s photo shoot. Let your imagination run wild. Yeah. And you will see that on social soon, because that is just too good not to share. Hilarious.
Hope it brings you the amount of joy it brought us in taking them.
Leading on from that, because we might as well talk about what we've been loving, I feel like segue into Lucy's loves and loathes of the week. Lucy's loves and loathes. I feel like I'm going to start with the negativity and end with the positivity.
All right.
Yeah? Let's switch it up a little bit.
Bad news first and then good news to finish.
Absolutely. So my loathe of the week has been that I haven't been very well, which, it's just one of those things. It drags you down.
It does.
And it's just energy sucking, and nobody needs that. However, I am feeling so much better.
Good.
But yeah, so that's been the loathe of the week.
What did you love?
I am loving this throwback playlist that I found on Spotify, which I think is a playlist that Spotify have created. And I have been bopping along in my car to these bangers. So as I was driving down here today to see you, to do this, it was banger after banger after banger. And you know what?
DJ
Browner in the house. And that is the type of energy in the car down that motorway. So, I mean, we've had a rough start to the week and we're ending it on a high. I can't really complain at that.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
As always, you can check us out on our social pages. We have an Instagram, we have a YouTube, we have a TikTok page, all with the same handle, at 29 to Life Pod.
And then you can also send us a cheeky email, which is 29tolifepod@gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, if you are done, I'm going to move on to put another slang on the Barbie.
I've been looking forward to this.
Right.
Okay, hit me.
So, this week, I have a variation. So, there are two different ways that I could say this sentence to you. They both mean the same thing, but it's just a personal choice. I will say both versions. Got to get in the zone. Okay. Really get into character for this one.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Oh, can't believe he manched a diary before we pashed. And then this is the second option for you. Oh, can't believe he punched a dart before we pashed.
What's that word that you said?
Which one?
I can't believe he punched.
So the two options were punched a dart or munched a durry.
Okay, so I know pashed is kiss.
Yeah, so I knew you'd get that. That's why I threw in these other ones.
It's almost like I can't believe he ate that before we kissed. So is it edible, or have they drank something? Because I feel like, I can't believe, to me, that's like, I can't believe they've eaten something like that has onion in it, for example, before we kissed.
You're on the right track. It's not technically edible.
Oh my God, smoked.
Yeah. So durry or dart is a common vernacular for cigarettes.
Oh, I liked that one.
And you were correct with pashed is kissing.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I really don't feel like many people say pashed. It may be years ago, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that's a word that I used to hear quite a lot, like, growing up.
I would equate it to how snogging here used to be. Yeah. People don't really say, I snogged him, did they?
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no. Oh, that gives me
fancy a snog. No, it's not. Someone's not going to come up to you, like, in a night and go, do you want a pesh?
No.
Not really.
No.
So.
Oh, I like that one, though, because that made me think.
Shall we get into the meat of this, then?
Absolutely.
We're talking about careers. So here we go. Let's talk first jobs. How old were you when you got your first job?
Oh, God, I must have been 15, 16.
Okay, and what was it?
Waitress at a local pub. And do you know what? I loved that job. I loved my boss. I worked with some really lovely people. It was a really, really nice pub. And I was pot wash and waitress there. And I used to work Friday nights and Saturday nights and Saturdays. And it was a bit of pocket money, you know?
Yeah.
And I actually quite enjoyed it.
I got a job quite late.
Were you in Australia at this point?
Well, babysitting was in Australia.
Right.
I worked as a nanny over here on my gap year as well. The next job I did, I was like a flyer and shot girl at a establishment in Bath. I don't know what it's called now.
I don't even know which one you're referring to.
It was the one that was near the weir.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so I did that with a friend of ours from uni.
Oh, interesting.
And
so
then,
you went from like nannying, you came over here for uni. It was
the natural
like
progression
shot
is look after children and then become a shot girl.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember, I mean, if you don't mind talking about it, what your first hourly rate was?
Oh, God.
Because
I don't even know if I can remember.
I remember when I was a shot girl. I don't remember what it was for nannying, but when I was a shot girl, and I used the term shot girl so lightly, like I handed out the cup. I was more of a flyer girl. I think I got paid £14 an evening and I got free entry to the club and some free drinks.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was once a week, so it wasn't the best. But then I the second year of uni, I worked in a cafe, which was horrendous, and I got paid £5.25 an hour.
See, I'm pretty sure my pub job, my first job, I'm pretty sure that was £5 an hour.
Criminal. It's daylight robbery.
Right, yeah. But then again, I was only doing a few hours, you know, on the weekend anyway. So it really, I think after I got paid for the first time, I checked my bank balance and it must have been like 60 quid.
It's mental, really, isn't
and
it?
I was just like, wow.
They used to, when I worked in the cafe, they used to cap our shifts at 6 hours.
Really? Bloody hell.
So, like, I think I made between 30 to 50 quid a shift, not even.
Wow.
Horrendous. Anyway.
Wow, first jobs.
Moving on from first jobs, what would you say your first proper job was? I love that people don't think, it's like that thing of, oh, you've been to uni, so now you have to get a proper job. It's like, they're all proper jobs.
Yeah, because it's a job.
Just because I've got a silly little hat and a piece of paper doesn't make it any more proper than anyone else's job.
No.
Arguably, it makes me an idiot for not going into the workforce sooner and wasting loads of money on a degree I barely use.
I mean, facts.
Anyway. Yeah, so post-graduation,
talk
me through that time.
Oh, God, Annie, this was a really tough time for me, as you know, but I'll let the listeners into this. So, graduated, applied for everything under the sun, and I mean industry-wise and normal day-to-day jobs, as in working in a cafe and, you know, working in a shop or whatever.
If there was a job within 30 to 40 miles of Lucy, whatever it was, she's applied for it.
I applied for everything.
She applied for everything.
Everything, right? And I couldn't, not for the lack of trying, because I've always worked my arse off, whatever it is. And I used to get so frustrated. I would be applying for jobs every single day, even jobs that I didn't want because I just wanted money. I couldn't get a job for 6 months.
Mental.
6 months.
Well,
insane.
That proves my point. Having a degree actually does very little.
Very little.
I would not sacrifice any of the experiences I had at university, but in terms of what I got out of it career-wise, little to nothing.
I know, and at the time, so when I graduated, I moved back home. I moved in with my dad and my stepmom, and I thought, oh, if I move in with them, where they are, they're closer to other things. There's probably going to be more job opportunities. No. So then, 6 old months went by, and the excitement, I tell you, when I landed my role, behind the deli counter of said supermarket chain. I was loving life because I was like, finally a job.
Did you have a little white coat and a little hairnet?
Yes, I did. And a hat. Don't forget the hat.
Have I ever seen a photo of you in that?
I don't know. I don't even know if I've got a photo of that.
Have you not? I might have to get you to go back to said supermarket and just put it on for a photo.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I learned a lot. I was only there for 6 months.
Do you learn how to use those ham carving machines?
Yeah. I learn everything.
Do you have to do all the Christmas carving now?
Oh yeah, I did. Oh my God, I was a whiz on the deli meat slicer machine.
Did you do the bread slicer, or are you not in the bakery? Just
No, just the deli. When I say deli, I mean your meats, your cheeses, your pies, your little Italian,
arancini balls,
your Spanish sort of meats and tapas type things, olives.
Oh.
I knew it all, right?
Love that.
And I learnt, to be fair, jokes aside, I learnt a lot. And I know about my cheeses.
Yeah, she comes from humble beginnings.
I do. I went into the world of supermarchés.
Love it.
I learnt a lot, but I was only there for 6 months.
Yeah, see, I mean, I had a different experience in that I left university and very fortunately got a job with a family friend. She needed some help with her photography business, and so I went and joined her as an editor, and I worked for her for a couple of years, actually. And then I thought, hey, do I still want to be an actor? Boy, do I. I'm going to take an acting job at a company. How do I phrase this?
Entertainment space.
An entertainment attraction in London that has celebrities in it you can meet that aren't real. I don't want to say anything about what they're made of because that really gives it away and that leaves me liable. And based on how I'm describing this, you can probably imagine how much I enjoyed it there. So that was a 6-month period of my life that I wish I could get back.
This is the difference between me and Annie. Me, supermarché, right? Annie, straight in. Like, your experience is so much cooler than mine.
It's not. I was just very fortunate that I had a family friend who worked in a creative industry and gave me the time to...
Yeah.
And bear in mind, I was duped. I thought I was getting an acting job. I was there taking photographs of people. So it was really... and to clarify, at the entertainment attraction, not with my family friend. It was quite something. We thought, hey, she's going to be an actor. Look at her go. She's performing for people on a daily basis. I was stood in a costume, taking photos, either being like, no, you have to take one on the green screen before you can take a selfie. It was one of my main things that I used to say, or please don't touch me, I am real. So, there was I call it a ride. It wasn't really a ride. There were some chairs that were red that spun around. If you've seen that show, you know what it is. I just have to
didn't know that.
People, you get 3 people up on this little stage at a time.
Oh, right.
And they'd spin themselves around based on the music.
Oh.
If they wanted to. And they listened to 4 or 5 songs or something. So I had to... And also, a lot of the people that came to this place, English was not their first language. It was full of tourists. So having to explain to someone how to turn it around and then to turn it back around if they wanted to turn around for everyone or to just turn around for one. I was just like, this is how it works. It's up to you.
Yeah. Losing the will to live.
It's with you or it's with God.
Were they the same 5 songs?
No, there was a loop. I think there was a loop. There was about 50 of them, I think. I mean, I can't remember. It's been a while, but yeah. So they used to get a different variation for each time it went round, but that whole thing played in a loop.
How did you find that?
The job as a whole, served a purpose for 6 months, but certainly wasn't for me.
No. No.
Ironically, though, the chair spinning, I then actually ended up working on the real life chair spinning.
I know. I was literally just thinking that.
With my sister in Australia. So, yeah.
Again, I am going to reiterate Annie's just general experience is so much cooler than mine.
It's not, though. Because if you'd have lived that entertainment attraction, I mean, the people there, amazing, lovely. Yeah. Would do it again to meet them. But every other aspect of that, I just thoroughly did not enjoy. And I think because I'd come out of uni and thought, oh, I'm going to be an actor. And I had a year or two of doing an editing job, which I really liked, and it was great. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to still try and be an actor, because whilst I was doing the editing jobs, I was trying to get into drama school and failing at it miserably.
Oh, bless you. I remember those times.
Yeah. When I realised, this isn't going anywhere, I'll just try and make it as an actor without drama school or an agent. You know, as you do when you're 21, 22, you think, no, that's so possible. I can definitely do that. See you at the Golden Globes. So once I realised I wasn't going to go down that route and no one liked me, I was a rigid performer.
Is that the feedback you got?
Not as harsh as that, but essentially.
I was just going to say, like, you said that was such conviction. I thought that was something somebody had said to you.
I just couldn't connect my body and my mind.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I could be emotional in what I was saying, but my body was just really stiff. I don't know why. Probably because it wasn't right for me. It wasn't what I was meant to do.
Maybe.
My body was trying to reject it.
No, stop. No. Turn around.
I will not act. Yeah. So once I'd made the decision to try and make it on my own, that's how I fell into that job, and then very quickly realised I don't like this.
No.
And then I think it took me, I wasn't acting, and then there was like a big merge of departments, and I ended up acting, and I didn't really audition very well, because they made us audition to keep our jobs, but because my contract went longer than when the merge would have happened, they couldn't fire me. So I was just like, I'm not even going to try.
No.
And I hated it. And they just kept me on the photography side of it until I left, because I gave my notice in. And I realised then, this is really taking the enjoyment out of something I used to love.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take a step back from it. And then I think 6 weeks after that, I got my first broadcast TV job. So
wow.
Yeah. So you're behind the deli counter. Then what happened? Back to you. This is a tennis match.
God.
I've unpacked some career trauma.
Yeah. God, there's a lot still to unpack with me. So I was at the deli counter for 6 months, and during my time there, bearing in mind at one point I was only there, I hit like the 3-month mark, somebody new joined, and they asked me to train them. I was still fresh as, a baked loaf. I was in no position, even though I took it as a compliment at the time, because I was like,
maybe
yes,
you were.
I'm good.
I was going to say, yeah.
And they asked me to train this new person on the deli counter, and I was thinking, oh, that's not right. That shouldn't be me. That's not my responsibility.
I don't know enough about ham.
No. So that happened, and then I got closer and closer to sort of the 6-month mark, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
This is not for me.
It was also shift work, and I really applaud people who do shift work, especially people in supermarkets, because it is really, really hard. Like, my sleeping pattern was just ridiculous.
Is that? Oh, I suppose you have like prep and stuff to do for the deli counter, don't you? Because I was going to say, surely like when it's open late night, I don't see the deli counter open the whole time, or did I just not go to the deli counter enough?
Well, I don't know if it's changed, but now, but back then, sorry, my shifts would be that either I'd start at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd do a 9-hour shift. But like that would be pretty much back to back for me. So by the time I'd finish work, get home, have a bit of downtime, I was in bed super early.
Yeah.
And I just felt like where I was living at the time, all my home friends was, 30, 40 minutes away from me, which doesn't seem like a lot, but after you've had a really long day, like it makes it more difficult. And I felt quite lonely during that time, because coming out of uni, not being able to get a job for 6 months, getting into a job that, yes, okay, great, I got money and I managed to get, a new car from that money and all of that. Like, it helped me to do things.
Yeah.
But then the shifts were taking their toll on me, and I was like, this ain't for me. Or I would do like a later shift.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do later shifts, and I wouldn't finish sometimes until 10 o'clock at night.
I would argue though that your post-graduating experience of joining the workforce is a lot more normal than is
Oh,
talked about.
yeah.
Mine actually, if you listen to our 2 stories, mine is not very normal because I was fortunate enough to have a friend that needed someone to work for them. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have had a job.
No.
I would have been in the same position going, okay, I need to apply for jobs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Perhaps it would have been slightly easier based on the fact that I was living in London, so there was more around.
Yeah.
Because you were also up against geographical barriers as well.
Oh, yeah.
But yours is I'm an outlier in that situation. Yours is a much more normal situation for people coming out of university, unless you're doing a degree whereby you naturally, like if you're doing a medicine degree, you're becoming a doctor, all of that. Or if you're becoming a teacher, you do your placements in your last year and then you tend to join a school pretty quickly. I mean, it still does take time, but there's more of a need for those. People don't need performing arts students. They should, but they don't need them.
We're great. But yeah, so I went through that. I got to the 6-month mark, and I thought it would be a great idea to move from in-person customer-facing role to another type of sales role, but on the phone.
Yep. I'd buy anything from you, just putting that out there.
Thank you. Do you know what? I do have the gift of the gab, because what I've got is what you're wanting.
She's
That's
got
my
that
tagline.
candy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought it'd be a great idea to switch jobs. And the main attraction for me for that was that I moved back to where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
And so I knew the area, all my home friends were there. I just felt more comfortable being in an area which I knew and was familiar to me because of after all that unsettling time, and like you said, yes, that's the norm for a lot of people, it's still a very unsettling time, to not have a job, to have a job, but it's not in anywhere close to your other sort of friends and family. And so that was like the main attraction for me. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it at the start. Yeah. But that was very short-lived. Yeah. And like you said, I could sell anything to anyone. And do you know what? I was really good at that job, but there was a very toxic work environment.
Yeah.
I to be honest, I don't know how I managed 6 years there, but I did, and I deserve a bloody medal for that. You do.
I think there are many reasons why you might keep yourself in that position.
Yeah.
But I think it's so difficult to decide to leave a job when there's that pressure of, you're quitting. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I went to my entertainment job, my entertainment attraction job. I only did 6 months there, and I could not for the life of me do any longer than I did. And actually, I think I still had 2 or 3 months left on my contract when I handed in my notice, and I was like, no, I'm not. I'd rather not have a job than do this.
Yeah.
And there's an element for me where I was very fortunate that I had people who I was living with that were very supportive of that, and I was kind of able to take that risk.
Yes.
Which ultimately ended up in reward because I did get jobs. But I'm also the first person to say that I had a lot of help. I had a lot of contacts. I wouldn't have been able to do that had I have been in any other position financially or environmentally. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I am very grateful for all those people because I wouldn't be where I am now without them.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's when you're at school, it's like go to uni or go to college or go to, get a job straight away, do an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And then when you're at uni, it's like, you need to do this if you want a job in this industry, or you need to do this if you want to be an actor, in our case.
Yeah.
And there's not actually that much that helps you to figure out how, or to help you say, okay, you've done this degree, but you don't have to use it. This is how you could use it for any other job.
Yeah.
Which I think is severely lacking in most. I mean, it might have just been our uni that didn't do that, but I imagine a lot of them don't.
Well, no, I can't imagine that they did, because what they don't really tell you is it doesn't matter what degree you have done, the amount of transferable skills that you've got that could be applied to any workplace.
Well, within reason, like we couldn't perform open heart surgery.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There are those transferable skills. Like, I had never had a telephone sales job before. It was my first proper, what I would consider my first proper adult job, because it was my first salaried job.
Yeah.
and it was office work,
Yeah.
Monday to Friday. And, you know, I'd never had that type of experience before. And I even said in the interview, will that hinder me because I haven't had that experience before? And they were like, well, no, because you've got all these other great skills, which is so true. But it makes you think, oh, because I've got a degree in this, people are automatically going to assume, well, why are you applying for this job? You know, why are you applying for this type of job? Which I do think is one of the main reasons in that first 6 months of graduated that I was rejected a lot.
It's so interesting because to hear you saying that you were worried about that before you had that job, now you've done it, it's second nature to you. I've still never had an office job.
Trust me, you don't want one.
No, but I do not know how. I have worked within offices within the creative industry in my job, but it's always because I'm freelance. I wouldn't know someone for 6 years at work. Like I might have known them that amount of time, but we've done different jobs.
Yeah.
So I met them on one job 6 years ago, but I may not have worked with them again since. I might just still be a friend.
Right.
So like I haven't had a consistent I haven't had a consistent team around me at work for longer. I think the longest team I've had like 8-9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
My current job,
that
is technically an office job.
But you work from home.
But I work from home majority of the time. Plus, it's such a different experience because I'm doing something completely different. Whereas my sales job, that was...
You had to be on the phones.
Had to be on the phones. Had to be there. Like, when COVID hit, we were still in the office 5 days a week.
Yeah. Madness.
Because, let's be honest, we all thought it was only going to last a few weeks.
I find it so funny that I was able to go to work during the pandemic as well.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't the first lockdown. I wasn't. I mean, and then they're like, no, film and TV is really important because we've all run out of things to watch. Get back to work.
Yeah, exactly. And thank God you did. Thank God to everyone in the film and TV
key
industry.
Worker. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Do you know what was ridiculous though? During those times, I was classed as a key worker.
You kind of were though, because the thing that you were selling is a necessity in people's lives.
Yeah, maybe.
I've made it sound more serious than it is, but
it was snacks. Let's just put it out there. I won't go into too much detail of what what brand or what company, but it was snacks, and I suppose snacking
ours combined
was a pivotal. Well, yeah, what a match made in heaven.
Yeah, watch a movie whilst you're
snacking.
Eating a snack.
Yeah,
perfect. Anyway, so that's I suppose the timeline of our careers.
Yeah,
Lucy started out in a pub. She went to the lofty heights of the deli counter. She moved on selling snacks, and now she's being a queen in the marketing world. Yeah. I did some editing. I worked at an entertainment attraction and I hated every minute of it. And then I went into broadcast TV, and then I went into the film industry. So
again, epic. That is so interesting.
See, it's so funny because whilst I have loved all of my jobs, except the entertainment attraction, I don't feel like it's that cool because I live it all the time. Do you know what I mean? And I get that. I've got the coolest job, and it's like, I get coffee a lot of the time.
But I think for me, like obviously knowing you, being friends with you, being along the ride with you through these different stages. Yeah. For me, I think it's so cool. And the reason I say it's so cool is because it's the ins and outs of what goes into creating something. Yeah. And I think that aspect is really cool because both of us, especially near the end of our uni careers, we were both very much interested in the behind the scenes aspect of theatre and how everything worked. And so when I say to you, that's really, really cool, it's because I'm like, wow, you get to witness what goes into creating something like that and how many people it takes, because it does take an army.
It does. I think as well, I'm at the point now where and like hence why we've got the podcast, one of the main reasons is I'm at the point where I really want to take creative control of something, and you know, listen, we're testing the waters with this.
We are.
You might see me doing something different soon, who knows.
Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe.
Thank you. I feel like this is definitely making me want to take the bull by the horns and do it myself.
And I love that. Yeah.
Do you have a dream job, or are you living your dream job?
Interesting.
Or are there any goals or changes you think you want to make to your work life at present that would allow you to reach what you want to achieve ultimately for your career?
Wow, 3 big questions there. I really enjoy what I do now.
Yeah.
And I really love sort of going into marketing and really, really learning about all of that, because with my current role, I do a lot of photography and video anyway, which is something of interest to me. I think I've always sort of said to myself, and I've always sort of said to myself since like quite a young age, that I would want to be my own boss eventually, and you know, perhaps going down that line, which we've talked about several times, of, you know, sort of production company. I think that is achievable and attainable. I don't know when that's going to happen, if it's going to happen, but it's one of those things where I'm like, if I really, really want that, I can reach for that.
Yeah.
But then there's also an aspect of me where I really, really want to go back into acting and giving that a go. And even if that's just a hobby, I need to...
outlet.
Yeah, I need to have the outlet. I need to get back on stage, because that is where, you know, I really come into my own.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go into that and realise, even after all these years later, okay, maybe acting isn't for me. I don't enjoy it as much as what I used to. But there's part of me that knows that I will, because I've always been a performer.
Do you think, just relating it back to careers, do you think that's what you would want your career to be? Or do you think that's a creative outlet in addition to having a production company?
I think to start off with, it's definitely an addition, a hobby, something to get into.
Yeah.
Acting as a whole is really, really hard to break into. As we all know, I think for me, I've always dreamt that I'd be an actor, and if that were to ever come to fruition and I got to the stage in life where I could be a professional actor as part of something that I do, then that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But who knows what's going to happen, because the thing is, I'm the type of person, I can't just do one thing.
Yeah.
I have to be able to do several different things. And I think you need to. It doesn't matter what you do in life. You can't have one thing.
Too much of anything is never a good thing, is it?
No. And they do say if you're an actor or trying to be an actor, you need to have other things that you're working on as well. Because, again, it's really hard to be in that industry, and it's very competitive, and who knows? What about you?
Well, I was with you until the acting.
Yeah, I know. I lost you there, didn't I?
And it's so funny, because for the longest time, I thought that was all I ever wanted to do, and it's really not. And that's okay. Yeah. And that's that's another weird thing to overcome with careers, is if you've always had your mind set on something and you've put yourself in the position of doing a uni degree or going to drama school, whatever. I'm using acting as an example, but it could be anything. You've done additional classes, you've done whatever, you've done a degree, and you've pointed yourself in that direction for so many years and thought, this is all I've ever wanted. And then you get there and you try it and you realise, I don't know if this is.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about anything else. How do I figure this out? That's okay.
Yeah,
because that happened to me, and it thankfully, because I'd been to university and had the experience of behind the scenes work, I had that to fall back on and go, no, that was what it was. It was that industry, but it was just a different thing.
Yeah.
I've obviously spent time in that industry for the last, I don't know how many years now. 8 years.
Wow. Yeah.
7. In various different factors and parts of it. And I know that acting's not for me. I've witnessed it in a different way. I've looked after actors. I've seen it. I've seen people acting in front of me as part of my job, and I have such respect for them.
Yeah, of course.
Think it's an incredible thing to do. But I just know now that's not for me. Behind the scenes is for me.
Yeah,
I think.
And you thrive at it. You're so good at it.
I definitely feel like having my own production company would just be the ultimate dream. And it will take a lot of work, but I do think it is achievable if I put the right amount of effort into it. Yeah, just having my own space to be creative and to put things out into the world. And I would love that. And I would love to just be in charge of my own time and be in charge of my own finances, which is probably quite scary, but also exciting because it really pushes you a bit more.
Yeah, it really does.
Not only would it, in the ultimate dream, I'd have staff, I'd have, loads of people working for this company. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Joint venture.
Yeah, I reckon it would be good. We can have a fun little office. We can do the podcast at the production company.
I could be cast in something that happens to be, done by the production company. Who knows?
Got the audition first, please.
Yeah, all right. Next.
But yeah, I think, being creative in that kind of way, I want to put all of the wheels in motion for everyone else to do everything. And anyway.
No, but I think that's a great goal to have, and not because it just happens to coincide with mine.
I think I think I get a bit awkward about it because it's quite scary putting it out there and saying this is what I want. I'm going to go for it for anything, let alone something that takes up so much of your time as your job. And I guess also putting it in this, we've put it out there now. We kind of have to do it. So
well, exactly. And as the classic saying goes, if you don't try, you'll never know.
Well, exactly. On that, let's talk about freelance work as well versus salary work. We've briefly mentioned it because we've both basically just said we want to be our own boss.
Yes.
So
that would be a massive change for me.
I have no experience of salary work. You have.
Yeah, and I have no experience of freelance work.
Yeah. So I can start if you want.
Yeah,
freelance work is both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Because it's feast or famine a lot of the time. So sometimes you'll have a job and you'll be offered about 4 other jobs whilst you're on that job. But then it will start to get to the end of the job. You're about 3 weeks out of it or a month out of it, finishing. And there's nothing around. There's no offers and you start to panic. And then usually something will come up. But sometimes you can go a while and you're unemployed and you just have no job. And it's a bit scary. But the flip side of that is, I mean, not for all freelance jobs, but for the particular jobs that I've done in the film industry, the hours that you work in the film industry mean that you're not spending money after work. You're there so long. You don't have the energy. You don't have the time to do anything after work. So you're literally only just paying to, and you eat most of your meals at work as well. So, which are paid for, usually, I would hope. In my experience, they have been. So you're saving money on groceries. You're saving money on not going out. You still have your outgoings for rent. So it does, financially, you can make it work for the periods of time where you're not in employment.
Right.
But it can be a bit nerve-wracking sometimes knowing, okay, this job's coming to an end. I don't know what's coming up next. You do always make it work, though, because there's an element of you have to, because you don't have anything to fall back on. You don't know. Your monthly earnings are different every month.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're different every day, depending on how many, overtime hours you might do, blah, 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 all the nitty-gritty. But I would say the positive side of being freelance is you're not your own boss because you are depending on other people to hire you, in my case.
Yeah.
But you can say, okay, I'm going on holiday in this month, in June. So I'm not going to take a job around that time.
Yes. Yeah.
But sometimes it does shoot you in the foot because you then have to say, I'm away in June, and you might not get a job. But you'll always find something to fit around it. You'll always find the work in the end. There are pros and cons, as I'm sure there are with salary stuff.
See, for me, freelance, there's that sort of, I don't know, romanticism that I perhaps have about it, in the fact that you've got, I don't know.
It's like a grass is greener thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because it really is.
There'll be elements of your salary job that I think, would love to know that that's how much money I bring home in a year. Would love to know that I get this much holiday a year. Yeah. And it's not going to affect me getting the job.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I think for you, for freelance, it's that constant state of change. Whereas for salaried jobs, I know where I am.
Yeah.
Month to month, I know how much I'm going to get in my pay packet. Pay date is consistent. Like you said, I know how many holiday days I have in the year. But then with that as well, I work Monday to Friday. I always have my weekends and my evenings to myself. But then there's that aspect of, and like this is more so in relation to my previous job, not my current job, but in my previous role, you know, there were 6 others in the team. So if I wanted to book off said amount of time,
it really had to be in advance.
And if somebody else had it already pre-booked or booked off, because you could only have a certain amount of people off at the same time, it wasn't always a guarantee that you're going to get that time off.
Yeah.
So there were aspects of it that you could miss out on stuff. But then if you were super organised, and we all know that I was, that you pre-plan stuff, you get it booked off as soon as possible, and then you've got something to look forward to. Yeah. Because there is that sort of intensity to things sometimes. It's a catch-22, and I think it's for every sort of type of job, whether it's freelance, salaried, shift work, you know, office work, Monday to Friday. You know, there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would sort of settle into freelance work because I'm so used to what I know.
For me personally, I don't think a salaried job would work for me based on how much freelance stuff I have done.
Yeah. Would you ever try a salaried job or no? Is it just not in your interest?
It's not that it's not in my interest. I think it depends on what it is. Because if it was a salaried job within the creative industry that I felt like worked with my skill set and my interests, then yeah. But I don't think you'd see me suddenly becoming a recruiter or something.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, not that I think there's anything wrong with them. I think they're great. But
no. I just can't see you doing that.
Yeah, that kind of office work is just not very me.
No.
Any workplace has its own kind of ecosystem and its own dynamics.
Yeah.
And some industries will have similar dynamics. Some will obviously have different ones because it's a different industry. What is your experience, if anything, with workplace dynamics or workplace relationships? Is there anything that you feel like you would do differently when you were first starting out? Or is there anything that you feel like is important to you for a workplace relationship or dynamic?
Back yourself.
Yeah.
And also don't let others speak to you in a certain way just because of your age or your experience
or gender.
And you know, it's okay to have a differing opinion from somebody else, but I think the main bit of advice that I would give myself is don't rise to that bait. Don't get involved in office politics and the toxic environment that creates, because it's a slippery slope, and you know, you can get caught up in it all, and it can just affect your day-to-day mood and energy, and making you feel frustrated, when in fact if I had just ignored a little bit more or stood up for myself a little bit more in times when I needed to, I think I would have grown in confidence quicker.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. What about you? Because obviously your experiences are a lot different to mine in this regard.
Yeah, well, I guess because I am consistently switching workplaces.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it would be, there will be people that make your job difficult sometimes.
Yes.
And the best way, even though it is so soul crushing and so draining, and a lot of the time other people will be picking up on that energy, the best way is to just do your job to the best of your ability that you would normally do for the people that you enjoy working for and aren't being treated that way by.
Yeah.
Because
that's good.
You don't want another person's bad attitude to reflect on how you work.
Oh, 100%. That's a good one. Yeah.
Don't be a sponge to other people's moods, which is such an incredibly difficult thing.
So
because
difficult.
You know, I'm a big believer that it trickles from the top down.
Oh, and 100%. Yes.
If whoever is at the top is being an arsehole, it's really hard to not be an arsehole back. That's just how life works. But take
Grin
a breath,
and bear it.
let it roll off your back and just keep going.
Yeah. Be confident in yourself, which sometimes is like really hard to do. I wouldn't say I was truly, truly confident until I was about 25 with my sort of decisions, because there was other things in life going on for me. And I was just like, no, I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table at the workplace. I'm not going to be treated like this. I'm good at my job. And, you know, this is how I feel about things.
Yeah. Well, it can be scary advocating for yourself.
Really, really scary.
Yeah.
And
I
you
think
have to do it.
I am more inclined to advocate for myself now that I feel I have the reputation and the contacts within my industry
and
that
the experience
I'm happy with, and the experience. But there's a way to advocate for yourself that is respectful.
Yes.
Is open to being cooperative with what their needs are if they don't necessarily line up with yours.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about compromise. You can advocate for yourself in creative ways. It doesn't have to be, oh, I need to go and talk to HR and have this conversation about this person or this thing or blah, blah, blah. Or be like, no, this is what I deserve. I'm not doing anything else. Because realistically, that just never happens. You never get it your way. But if you're flexible and if you're honest and can say, look, this is what I need. This is what I feel like I'm not getting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Can we come up with a solution together? 9 times out of 10, people are much happier to help you with it rather than going in there like a bull in a china shop and going, I need this, I deserve that.
Yeah.
Do it.
No, definitely. And honest communication is really important in the workplace.
Yeah.
And that sort of nicely links in with growth.
Yes.
And how you grow within your job, your industry, your sector you work in, personally and professionally. I would say that I have grown so much since the age of 22 to now, you know, both professionally and personally. Like, I know what I bring to the table professionally, and I know how to handle situations personally, because there have been times in the past where you try not to take things personally with somebody who has said something to you or, you know, criticised you in whatever capacity. And back in the day, I would really take that to heart. I would be like, wow, like, I feel like I failed at that, or I'm not good enough, or what that person has said about me is the truth. When in fact, a lot of the time, it's, you know, other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
I think also that's true, but I think also personal growth and career growth when you're like 21 are so interlinked, because you're still figuring yourself out, and because the workforce is still fairly new for most people at that point. It's hard to unlock them from each other. Yes. So whereas now it's like, okay, you've done so much personal growth in your own life that you know who you are, you know what you bring to the table, as you said, so that you can go, okay, they've not liked my performance at work. That doesn't mean they don't like me as a person. Yeah. They both do come hand in hand, in that if you get a promotion at work, there are so many things that helps. It helps your self-esteem. It helps you feel challenged at work, which is good. It helps you financially, probably. And then that then leads to, okay, I've got more money for this, that, and the other. Yeah. And so that leads to personal growth, because you go, oh, I've had this self-esteem boost. What else should I try what else should I go for? Encourages you to try more, I think, if you're getting
the
offered
recognition.
Promotions. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think especially when you're starting out as well, it's almost like you feel like you've got to be on your best behaviour 24/7, because you don't almost want to make those mistakes.
You don't want to rock the boat, and you don't think you can grasp the things that you should be striving for. I don't think you think at that age you can go after them. Yes. And it's something that I wish I had done. But again, it's hindsight. I know now that is something I want to do in order to progress my career. It's
almost like an invisible barrier that you feel, but you also sort of put on yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes you can get lost in all of the pressures and sacrifices that you make with your career. Yeah. So you don't advocate for yourself enough, and you don't say, hey, no, I'm going to put myself forward for this promotion, or I'm going to go and grab that thing. And I mean, pressures are huge at work sometimes not so much. Sometimes work gives you so much in your life, but then also other times it absolutely takes everything away and you have to sacrifice your time and certain experiences that you might miss out on because you have to work.
Or it can even affect your mental health.
Yeah. Have you felt any pressures in your career that you're comfortable sharing, or have you felt that you've ever had to sacrifice anything for work?
Going down like the mental health route, yes.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time in my previous job, there was a lot of change happening. It was very unsettling, and I didn't know whether I was going to have a job or not. And that wasn't just for me, that was like a company-wide thing.
Yeah.
But it was really stressful.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was lucky enough to still be living with my mum, but still it was really, really unsettling. In the end, I was signed off work for about 6 weeks for stress and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt shame in that because I'm not a quitter.
No.
I plow on through with anything. Somebody gives me something to do or asks me to do it, I will go above and beyond to do it.
Definitely. But I do think it's natural to feel shame for that, but that doesn't mean that you should.
No, not at all.
But that again is easier said than done. It's easier to say you shouldn't feel ashamed for putting yourself first and putting your mental health first when you're not the person that is going through that.
Exactly. And it wasn't until afterwards, and still to this day, like, I don't mind talking about it because I think it's really important.
Yeah.
And it happens to a lot more people than what you expect or think. But at the time, it's really, really hard to see past that. And it didn't matter who said to me, Lucy, like, you're not a failure, okay? You know, like, you shouldn't be ashamed about this. Mm-hmm. It was really hard for me to see it in that context at the time because I was too in it.
Yeah.
It's not until afterwards that you, again, hindsight, great thing, and you realise actually me stepping away for that period of time was the best thing I could have done. And
100%.
So I sacrificed what I would probably call now my pride because I hate failing at anything, right? Mm-hmm. It all happens.
But that's
natural. Like, that's just life.
It's the human condition to want to do well at things.
Exactly. And I personally struggled with that because I was just like, what is happening? But at the time, it was one of those things, and I just had to plough on through like I do with everything.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
If that had happened to you, and it's a two-pronger.
Oh.
If that had happened to you, say, 3 years earlier in your career, or if it had happened to you now, how would you have handled that differently? Or would you have done it the same?
So when that happened to me, I was 25. So if I had done it 3 years...
So if you're 22 and you're really first starting that job.
I feel like it would have broken me.
Do you think you would have just pushed through and not allowed yourself the space and time you needed to feel better?
Yes, because I was beginning, and even though it didn't matter how I was feeling, I would push on through because that's what's expected. That's life. It's a job. It's always going to have its ups and downs. Get with the program. That would be my sort of headspace.
Do you think
that was the headspace I was in at 25 to start with. I was like, this shouldn't be affecting me, but it was.
Do you think the pressure of going, I need this job, it took me so long to find this job, all of that?
So if that happened at 22, again, just because of who I am, I would have pushed on through.
What if it happened now, though?
If it happened now, because I know who I am, because I know my limits, because I understand my thought processes, I would have handled it completely differently. I would have perhaps, if it happened now, I would step away sooner rather than later.
And it may not have gotten to the point that it did then,
Yeah, it may not have gotten to the point that it did.
Oh, well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. It
takes a lot to say, hey, I actually need some time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it affected me for a while afterwards. My anxiety was at an all-time high, and even like the thought of going to the office or being on site really like worked me up. Yeah, which is silly to think about now because I almost say to myself, get a grip. But at the time, you're so in it.
You're always your own worst critic as well. No matter how
Yeah.
you handled that, there would be something you would look at and go, oh, I could have done that better. I should have done this. But
Yeah.
And I think we naturally as human beings do that because that is a known thing that's happened. Whereas when something is an unknown, we cannot predict how
No.
we're going to handle it.
No, not at all.
I think that's careers.
I think that's careers in a nutshell.
Careers done.
I think, to be honest, to round this all up, we need to do a hear me out.
We do. Hear me out. Mine is, would you rather be the absolute best at a job that no one takes seriously or be average at a well-respected job?
Average at a well-respected job.
That's interesting. See, I look at
Big
this.
reputation.
She's got an ego. Mine's the opposite.
Really? Why?
Because it doesn't actually matter to me if someone takes my job seriously or not. And that might be coming from the fact that I'm not in a normal job, as it were.
Okay. Now, the reason why I say average at a respectable job is because, for me, my job's my job.
Even though you'd rather be the best at something that's not your job.
Yeah, because I feel like putting my energy and time into something that I really, really enjoy, whether that's a hobby or whatever, I would probably prefer to put my focus there. Still enjoy the job that I'm doing, but I think, again, this sort of relates to what we've been talking about today. Yeah. I don't feel like I have to be the best at something. Yeah. I can appreciate what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at because we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. And, you know, I think for me, for the longest time, especially after graduating, a lot of people, not that I would see them that often, but every time I would see certain individuals, they'd be like, oh, you're still there. That type of comment, don't appreciate. There's reasons why I'm at this job. So, like, maybe it's an ego thing where I'm like, actually, if I was average at a well-respected job, people won't feel the need to pass comment on it.
They probably just won't comment at all, really.
Yeah.
I guess, actually, you could look at both options as ego options because what you've just said, but then if you turn it around to what I've said with, I want to be the absolute best.
Yeah.
Essentially, I could say I'm Ash Ketchum. I've caught them all. I'm a Pokemon trainer. People be like, that's ridiculous. That's not a job.
Yeah.
To me it is, and I'm the best at it.
All right.
See what I mean? Like, that's an ego thing as well. Like, does it matter if other people don't care? If you know you're the best at your job.
Yeah, I suppose. Interesting.
Like, if you want to be a professional M&M sorter,
I would love that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, who's to say that you're not the best at that?
Exactly.
I don't know. Anyway, you go with yours.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Now, mine, it can be sort of quite generalised, but I feel like we can hone it in for careers. Okay. You pick up a book. Yeah. And you start to read it. You realise said book is the story of your life from start to finish. Ooh. Right? Would you keep reading?
Okay, so should we put this into it's the story of your career?
Yes. Story of your career, would you keep reading?
I'll tell you what I'd do. If I could figure out a way to know where I currently am at that moment that I'm picking up the book, what page that is.
Right.
I would mark that page and I'd go back to the beginning and I'd read up until the page that I'm at. Up until
that page. Okay, interesting. So you wouldn't read any further?
No, because I would argue that if you were to read further, it might alter the time-space continuum. You may not do those things anymore. But also, that if you were to read further, it might change your mind on things and make you go... And I guess you could look at that in a positive and a negative way in that you could say, oh, that was a bad choice, I'm not going to make that choice. Or it could say, oh, look, I do this really good thing, but then you might not actually get around to it because you know you're going to do it, so you don't put the work in. You don't put the work in that you would have had you not known that was going to be the outcome.
Interesting.
So I think I'd rather read to the point where I'm at in my life at that moment and go reflect back on what I've done and go, wow, okay, I actually did do something really well. Or, oh, that was a bad time, but I'm glad I'm here now and I'm changing. What would you do?
Oh, okay. I would read the last page because I think for me, and that sounds silly, but I think for me, it's not about specifics. It's not about how I've gotten there or what I've done. I think for me, reading the last page, just that last page, for me, I just want to know that everything worked out okay. Whatever
so
it
you
was.
would take that as, okay, this is going to spur me on. This is going to work out how I want it to. Okay, this is not how I want it to work out. I'm going to change some things. Yeah. Interesting that we have different perspectives on that.
Yeah, because I think for me, and this is just how I am with so many different things, I just need that everything's going to be all right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know everything's always going to be all right because it has to be. It has to work out in some way or another.
Well, it either will be or it won't be.
Yeah. So even if it's not in the way that you originally thought it would be, but I would read the last page and just be like, oh, okay, that happened. Well, we'll see.
Okay. Would you like my silly one?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Prepare yourself.
Oh, God.
Would you rather shit yourself at work during a presentation
right,
or not shit yourself at work, but everyone at work thinks you've shit yourself?
Oh, I think I would have to go for everyone thinks I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I feel like that's easier to sort of clear the situation up. People may not believe you. It's like that classic thing of when you're at school and someone farted, like, I didn't fart, and like everyone would take the piss, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like if you've actually shat yourself, that is going to be the topic of conversation for a very, very long time, and it will be brought out in every situation.
Yeah, but you can argue the same for the other side.
No, because if you've shat yourself,
everyone thinks you have.
I just think it's easier.
So
if
my
you
argument,
haven't.
my argument, right?
Okay, here we go.
I don't agree with you.
All right, I can tell.
In case you missed it,
I picked that up
from the tone. If you actually shit yourself, right?
Yes.
There is a chance. I mean, people might see it. But also they might not. They might not notice you've shat yourself. No one's going to say anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you say that. But if you've ever worked in an office environment,
I haven't.
Exactly. So this is why I feel like we can agree to disagree.
So to deep dive into it.
All right.
I would rather someone be talking about me for something I've genuinely done.
Interesting.
Than to be saying something that isn't true and there's just no way for me to prove that it's not true. I can't go back in time and just like pants myself and go, I haven't shat myself. Because then that's worse, isn't it?
I suppose.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just no way. There's no way to stop that torment. But there's no and you way. Know deep down it's not true, but there's just, that would infuriate me not being able to prove that.
But you could say the same thing with shitting yourself and everyone knowing about it.
No, because
that's a topic of conversation that will not die down. It would be the thing
that
would be
you're saying that. You're saying
2
that
years down the line.
You're saying that, but that's the same situation for everyone thinks you have, because they'd still, if they think you have, they're still going to bring it up.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they wouldn't, but the difference is, you know, in the one scenario you actually have.
Yeah, and I would rather that. Because I know I've done the thing. Whereas being tormented for years on end about shitting yourself when you haven't done it would be just...
just change jobs.
It's a different...
Easy solution.
You get to the interview. In the reference. Yeah, they shat themselves that one time.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about it. We do office polls weekly about it. No, so for me, I just think, obviously it would be a bit humiliating shitting yourself in the middle of a presentation. No one wants that. I'm not saying it's something... I'm not suggesting it's something we do. But I would be able to get over that more so than getting over the fact that everyone thinks I have, because it's like, what else did they think about me? And I cannot prove this.
Do you know why I think I'm so blasé about it? And
because you've shat yourself at work.
No.
Or everyone thinks you have.
No, is because there's been so many different times in my life where people have thought things about me or have run off with their own narrative about me and about certain situations. And yes, it's frustrating because it doesn't matter how loudly you scream, like, hey, this isn't what happened, this is my side of the story. People will choose whether or not they listen to you. I think I'm in such that sort of state of mind. If you think something about me, fine. I know that it's not the truth. If you want to believe that or not, that's up to you. I don't have the energy to try and change your mind about it, because what you think about me, again, going back to what I said earlier, your opinion about me is none of my business.
True.
And I think I've been so used to situations in the past, I'm like, you know what, whatever. If you think that about me, whatever. Cool.
My take on it, shit happens.
Fab.
So, Anyway, I think that's us.
Yeah. What
Thanks.
a note to end on. I love that.
Shit.
Thank
you for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Both on shit and careers.
A little heated at the end there.
It did. I don't agree, but we'll continue this another time. There's not enough time right now.
No, there isn't.
So thank you for sharing your experiences.
Thank you. It's been what a ride.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. And I'll see you next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of 29 to Life.
She's been Annie.
She's been Lucy.
New episodes drop every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Catch the video version on YouTube.
Don't miss out on behind-the-scenes exclusives on all of our socials. You can find us with the same handle, at 29 to Life Pod, on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube.
Or email us at 29tolifepod@gmail.com.
Follow, like and subscribe on whatever platform you choose. We would love to see you there.
See you next Thursday. Bye!